They're okay joints. They're not the worst, but in this case you can see it's actually bridging from here to here, which means that it's touching two holes.
Yeah.
That's a bad joint. Because what will happen is you'll short circuit out the pin that's next to it, and then you'll have a random failure. That's not great. The second thing is if I heat this up too much, like I get it hot, let it cool, I'm burning off flux every time I do this. First time I do it, it's fairly easy to remelt. The second time I do it, it's getting a little bit harder to remelt because I'm burning off the part that's liquid and making it easier to go into a liquid state. At some point, this is going to turn gray and I'm not going to be able to melt this again. So going back and forth like this, trying to get it right, eventually I'm going to end up in a situation where it's just rock hard and I'm not going to get it to melt. So then I'll take a little bit of the flux, that little syringe that you had, and I'll actually put it on there to make it easier to melt. You can see I'm not denting it more than I am melting it right away. So the other way of dealing with that is actually putting a little bit of solder, so heating it there and then putting a little bit of solder, and then the resin from that will actually go through and make it easier to melt. The other one is if I start messing with this, yeah. If I start messing with this while it's cooling, it may get a dull gray appearance. Let's see if I can get it to do it. No, it's cooling pretty well. But you want it shiny. You want it to be relatively shiny. If it is really dull gray, it means that you created what's called a cold joint. The cold joint doesn't have a crystalline structure that's touching all the metal correctly, and then you can actually sometimes push the pin through. It's not actually, like I might heat up just the copper part, but not actually touch the pin. Like I melted the metal, but not the pin itself. So then it's cold, you just end up sliding around it later on, the solder comes right off. Does that make sense? Okay. Here, while I'm doing this, why don't you try it?